All right, it is 6 o'clock and we will call the Dalton Township Planning Commission meeting for January 31st to order. First, we'll do roll call. Dave, I am here. Jesse? Here. Todd? Here. Lee?
Here.
John? Here. Casey?
Here.
And Kevin? Here. Anything to amend or add to the agenda or anything for tonight? Get a motion to the agenda
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
for all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Move forward. We have the meeting notes from the December 20th meeting. Everyone's had a chance to review. If someone would like to make a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes of December 20th meeting. Or the minutes.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, opposed? Okay. All right, we are up to public comment. We do have some items tonight that people may want to speak to. You can use that time during the public hearing for the particular one that you would be here for. Otherwise, this first public comment is just your opportunity. If there's something that you have a question on or something you'd like to bring forward, certainly there is your opportunity here. So you get up to 3 minutes. We'll recognize you if you give us your name and then your address so that we have a way of getting that recorded for our records. And we'll go ahead and do that. So I will at 6:03 open up the public comment. And it's not unusual if you don't have any during this time, but if you do, give it one more chance.
The guy that's doing all of this here, Mike, that's doing per road.
Yeah, that there is someone here for that.
He is here.
Mike's
Or Mike's not here.
Mike's not here. Okay. I don't know which guy is what or who is doing what. So.
All right, I will at 6. Close the public comment. All right, we will now move into the items for public hearings. The first is for a rezone request for 1148 and 1230 West River Road.
Yeah, just have to do.
Do you want to speak on that?
I mean, and I don't know. I discussed it at the last work session meeting. Like,
Okay.
how it's gonna go. But
Okay.
you want me to talk about it?
Yeah, if you would just kind of give the.
Lee Whitty, 1230 West River Road, in conjunction with Michael Davis at 1148 West River Road. We were looking to get our parcels rezoned from R2 to Ag. Our last week we had our work session meeting. We did talk about it. I mean, we're not I guess, know what 100% what you want, like would you like to say? I mean, I know we're just looking to get it changed because of what we're doing on our property. We're the Hidden Creek Farm with 18 acres. After we went through our lawsuit with, we were found by the state of Michigan to be in the right in what we're doing. We just thought changing to ag would make it better. But after talking with the work session last week, probably be better to, that would be more spot zoning. If you see in their bottom corners all zoned R2, we would probably be better off to change the ordinances to help everyone in the whole community to benefit themselves, so. If any other questions or.
That's kind of the overview. That's, I guess, what we were looking for there. What we're looking at right now, we'll kind of discuss some of the things that Lee referenced there, as we did have some opportunity to kind of look at that. If you're familiar with Dalton Township, we have a master plan which we use to kind of incorporate decision-making. So it keeps anything from really swinging major swings of policy or procedures or anything like that, because you want to stay as close as you can and true to that as we can. And doing some of the conversation through that, one of the we consult with a lawyer. The lawyer kind of gave us some recommendations on some of the process with that. And some of the concern that would be is if you start changing things for individuals, it becomes what's known as spot zoning. And that's what we're trying to come up with a way that doesn't put us in that. Because again, if you start doing that, it's a very easy way to start picking winners and losers. And that's not something that we are at this point wishing to do. That being said, we still will go forward with the public hearing here. And what we're going to do is we're going to open it up, and anyone that does have it, this is part that, again, you have the opportunity to have your 3 minutes. You can ask some questions, or if there's things that you would like to just state. Again, all we ask is give us your name and your address, if you would, when we start this. So I'll open up the public hearing at 6:07.
I need to go to the podium, or can I just talk to the?
It helps, it's,
All right,
yeah, helps with the hearing at least.
my name is Stephen Hunter. I live 2301 Oak River Lane. My property is gonna kind of butt up right to the back end of where they're putting this. One of my concerns is that we're changing this, but I don't understand with what we're changing it for. What is your long-term purpose to change this land? And for what? What's gonna be the use?
I mean, I'm the 18 acres, so I wouldn't be, my property doesn't butt up, mine doesn't go all the way over to yours.
Okay.
I'm not the flag shape, I'm just the rectangle on the west side there. I mean, I'm currently farming, doing some animals and stuff down there. I don't know if you've ever driven down that way. I'm gonna continue to do that, raise animals.
See, that's one of the concerns of me when I bought this property. I did not have that. Now I'm gonna have this to where if something happens and you change next, I have a pig farm or I have a turkey farm in there, my property values at that house is gonna plummet. And I did not buy into this neighborhood with this, knowing that this was gonna happen. I don't wanna go from having a $200,000 home where I'm gonna be able to maybe sell it for $100 and some odd thousand because of the smell. That's one of my biggest concerns.
I'm not, and I don't really want to speak too much for Michael, but he's not planning on doing anything.
I get that, but once this is zoned that, you have all rights to do that. It's open borders. You can do with what you want. That's my concern, and everybody that's gonna be around there. You're gonna benefit from it, but we're gonna be the ones that's gonna have to live with it, and we're gonna lose from it.
Well, I understand that. I wouldn't do that. Just being me, I don't want to hurt anybody as being a neighbor, I mean, there's things that I would want to do in reason. I understand what you're saying. That's why we talked last week and discussed this.
And when you look at the zoning of this too, I mean, this is gonna be the only area within here that's gonna be spotted as agricultural within this township. Am I right or am I wrong?
What do you mean, the only spot?
The agriculture is the green.
Yeah, it was in the
Yeah, it would
green
be a little
side.
section, it would be a little section of green.
Right,
Yeah.
and then the rest of it's gonna be all just for residential neighborhoods, correct? So we're gonna have this spot that eventually over time could impact just not us, but several people, and also reflect upon the township. And what's it gonna do to the cost? What's it gonna do to the township? I mean, you're not gonna drive people in, you're gonna drive people out for this one section of property. I guess that's the thing we need to look at long-term and what we wanna do as far as the long-term gain for our community. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak?
Yes, I would. Well, what I got here. Leave that one out. What's that? My name is Marilyn Lawton. I live at 1114 West River, right next to Mr. Davis's property, and I wish that he would have shown up tonight. I'm just wondering what effect it will have on our taxes, like the other gentleman there, the property values. Are they planning to put water, sewer, whatever in through there? What else have I got on here? What are they planning on putting in there? You must have some plan that they want it agricultural. I did get a copy of their paperwork and the paperwork from the lawyers and stuff on my computer today. And there's a lot of things that they can't put in there, it says, but it doesn't say too much about what they can or what they will be planning on putting in there. And to change things, I think we need to know what's going on before we change them. So I guess that's my major problem, is that
Yeah.
we don't know what's going on, so how can we say, oh, that's okay, just let it change? We just can't do that. There's too many things to look at, so. And I'm really not having a driveway or a road, whatever that is, right alongside of my drive. It was quite a shock. Like the other folks that have had trees taken out, and all of a sudden they're just out of the woods.
Bring up the wood boiler Mike's got too.
Oh, that's right. Mike has a wood boiler,
Yeah.
outdoor wood boiler furnace, and it is creating a terrible amount of smoke, I think. And he told me that he was mixing dry wood with green wood, and it just hovers right down at the ground. We get great big billows. Sunday was a beautiful day. I would have loved to have been able to go outside. I couldn't breathe. My dog went out to go potty and she came back in and she smelled like she'd been laying a bonfire. And if he does those things, and he told me shortly after the New Year that he was planning on putting in 15 houses back there, and that he had 3 houses spoken for. And then we get this paperwork that we're gonna go agricultural. Do you build that many houses in an agricultural area? I don't
No,
know.
you
Somehow
can't.
or other. Pardon me?
You cannot, no. You have to have
Okay,
5 acres per home.
Okay. And so I don't know where that came from. And I mean, they had already put in for this out here on December 15th. So he knew that and then told me he was putting in 15 houses. So I don't know if we'll get straight answers. What was that, Mike?
We really don't know what he's up to.
Yeah. So just don't really concerned about all of a sudden living on a corner lot. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Jeff Schoenfield, 1048 West River. I had the same concerns as sir. Talked to Mike, really nice guy. I was in my backyard one day looking at my woods. You know, I'm in a pretty wooded lot. I bought it because it's private. That's what I wanted it. I don't really have a house on either side of me. I got heavy woods behind me. I looked out there, all of a sudden trees were dropping. I mean, at my property line. I mean, here's the line, here's the trees. And I said, what's going on? And I said, well, I'm building a cabin right here for my buddy. In my backyard. I mean, I can't even go out back, take a leak now, you know, because it's my privacy's gone. You know, so was my concern I talked to I forget who it was, one of the commissioner guys, and he said can't do that. So that's what I was wondering, like, what is this guy doing? He told me 6 cabins for family and friends. So, and from my understanding with the zoning, you can't do that. So like I said, what is going on back there? Like I say, it's taken all our privacies. I mean, it's literally, we had thick woods and now there's
We
nothing
bought the property for woods.
for
And
wood.
they're just tearing it all down,
It's
and you don't even know why.
literally, there's a highway going through there now. I mean, it's kind of crazy and scary, you know, like I said, my resale value just plummeted. It's crazy. And it's like I say, it's, we don't know what's going on. We get different answers, you know, he said maybe sheep farm, maybe houses, maybe hard telling, you know, so I've heard 3 different things than what he told me now, so it's concerning. I mean, I've only been there for 5 years, but I know a lot of these people have been there a long time.
57.
Yeah, I went to school in Austin, so it's, yeah, the same thing, so that's my concerns. Thanks.
Thank you. Have anyone else like?
Steve Warmington, excuse me, 2302 Oak River Lane. I'm against this, for the spot zoning in particular. It's residential there, it's residential across the street in Dalton Township. So we'd be impeding on them. I was disappointed to hear that the state can overrule the local governments for what can be done there. Mr. Whitty runs a nice farm, yeah, but it's still in a residential area. And I don't know that, I understand what he's trying to do, but because they bought in a residential area and they wanted to farm, and so then they are allowed to farm according to the state. So now he wants to change it to farming because that's what he does. And I'm assuming that if it was zoned agriculture, that probably the tax rate would be different. Does anybody know the answer to that?
That one's above our pay grade as far as.
I'm just assuming that, I don't know if Lee knows or not, I'm just assuming that agriculture pays a lower rate tax per thousands than what residential does. And so what that would, could affect income if in fact what I'm saying is correct, and certainly wouldn't be fair to the rest of us that are in the neighborhood that they've got the 2 largest parcels and would be paying less tax if, I say again, if in fact that's what's going on there. So, and the other concern that Steve had mentioned is that while what they're doing may not be impeding as much on the neighborhood as other farming, once it's zoned that way, it's tough to stop it then. And I don't think that's fair to the neighborhood either. It was zoned that way when we all purchased, it should remain that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I will close the public hearing at 6:18. We'll begin our board discussion. We have a work session that we took other ideas on this, again, trying to stay away from what we would term spot zoning was our concern. And again, giving protection at the same time for all parties involved here. By that I mean for equally for everyone, not individuals, but looking at the best options for this. Anyone have?
Excuse me. Are we allowed to comment on anything from here on, or are we done?
Generally, this is board discussion at this point, but again, at the end, if you did have a question,
Thank you.
you could just, again, we'll raise a question here if we did have something that comes up. We're going to try to stay as close as we can to being able to work through this now. Thoughts?
If we end off with not doing the spot zoning, because it kind of
Yeah, we
created a
pretty much
conflict.
agreed on that last week,
But
that
then we're
it's
looking
just
at-
not the best fit.
Right.
And that it's right in the middle of everything. That would be spot zoning, yeah.
And we determined that there's really nothing extra that's gonna benefit them by doing so, because we're already allowing everything you're doing in a residential, correct?
Yes, the state actually is
Right to Farm Act.
Wilmington had already said that was depending on protection that the state actually can place that for citizens, and that's something that doesn't matter with our zoning or what have you, but where we sit now is they're changing it from where it sits now to ag would be something that would be something our board would be able to do at this point. But again, based on the fact that we had a pretty thorough discussion on that, and really trying to avoid being in the position of doing all that spot zoning, or we would just take in the middle of something else, create something else. So we're trying not to do that. That's against what our master plan states for us. Any other comments? Comments, okay.
Make a motion to deny the zone change for 1148 and 1230 West River from R2 to ag.
Or do a vote on this. Jesse? Yes. Todd? Yes. Lee? Lee's off, I'm sorry, John?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And Dave, I vote yes also on that. So that is, we move forward with that denying. I'm going to recuse myself. Okay. We'll now move forward to next for public hearing. We have SU 23-1 and 23-01 for 5821 Holton Road primitive camping. So we are, and someone here to speak on that tonight. And Dave, you would like to step to the front? Sorry?
Or against.
I'm sorry?
For or against, she's asking for or against.
He's gonna
We're
speak
gonna ask-
first and let us know.
Yeah, what what we do is he's bringing the request forward. So we generally give the person who's bringing the request forward an opportunity to, at this point, kind of give us a.
Just looking to start a primitive campground, small 12 site. No buildings going on. About it, it's pretty simple.
We had some questions. Want to ask questions now, or if you would like to wait till after public hearing?
I'll just wait.
Okay.
To hear what the people have to say.
Okay. Right. Thank you, Dave. That is what Dave has presented to the board. At this point, I will open up the public hearing at 6:19. Again, you have your 3 minutes if you have questions or would like to speak on this. You may step forward, give us your name, and we will move forward.
Sheila Flater, 5775 Holton Road. I adjoin where they would like to put the campground. It's loud now. And I can hear music until, when it's decent out, 2:00 in the morning. I don't keep my windows open in the summer because it's just like they're in my yard. And this is all a cleared area, all but a small strip, and they adjoin mine, and mine has woods. So where are the people that are going to go from this campground? They're not gonna stay right there, sit in the sun. Does that make sense? This cold snap has been a blessing to me because I don't have to go to bed with the radio on, so I don't hear the radio or recorded music, whatever they're doing, or people carrying on. And I really wouldn't feel safe. I live alone. And I spoke to several people on the other side, but they didn't show. The other side of the tracks, and they said they were going to try to, but they're not here. And they don't want people wandering through their property either. Not in this day and age. Is there anything to contain this ground so that the people aren't crawling up somebody's skirt tail?
Are you asking me?
Not shown on our site plan, there's not, though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Chuck Mazzell, 2985 Fifth Street, Twin Lake. Just live about 200 yards due north of the Alibi or Effin Bar. Lived there for 60 years. Twin Lake's always been a quiet little village, a lot of noise, but in the last few years, noise is absolute, it's loud. It's motorcycles, it's bands, people screaming in the parking lot. Not every day, and especially with the south wind, it just blows right into you. I'm really, hesitant. I think Mr. Nichols has done a great job with the bar. I go there and eat once in a while. But yeah, me as a taxpayer, as you heard this lady back here, I'm paying for that, with the noise and confusion and things that seem to go on there. So when I look at a campground, I look at more people, more noise, more bands. I might be wrong. But just don't know. And I also own a property behind along the railroad tracks. And we do have problems with trespassers. That doesn't mean that campers are going to trespass anything. But if I was assured that there was security to that campground and some way to control the noise that comes out of the bar, I'd probably say fine. But as it stands right now, there's just too much chaos that takes place. And I see the campground as creating more. There are 12 campsites, probably another 12 people. So I'm opposed to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll close the public hearing at 6:28. I think, Dave, we're gonna just throw a couple of questions to you, just things that some of the things that, again, this is not something that we do for a living. This is just something that we serve on, so our knowledge is varying as far as what people know here. And some things were brought forward and some of the opportunities we see with the plan certainly would be something I think, like several have had questions on there. Would anyone like to ask David any questions that we come up with in our work session?
I don't see anything on your plan as far as water. What is your plan to provide water to this person?
State law says I can put in I have to have a water supply. I just found that out recently, so it'd be a hand pump, pitcher pump, which it meets requirements to the state.
It's also required in the township ordinance that you have adequate and convenient water supply and sanitary sewage disposal.
Yeah.
So it looks to me like you have one, porta john on your plan.
The state's gonna require two, I don't know. Or they could allow digging a hole also, but they'd have to do ground tests, but we're just putting in porta johns.
Get notes here. I know we had some questions about the cul-de-sac. Being needed to be, was it 66 feet? The dimensions, and it's hard to get back there with the snow that just came in. That is really hard to walk in.
66 feet diameter?
It needs to be, isn't it, across? It needs to be
Diameter, yeah.
the diameter.
No problem.
So to have that, we were trying to figure out if you have enough for, and there was also questions on the number of sites.
They're not big enough for the state's requirement.
I can make them bigger, I have the room.
Yeah, we didn't have those
They
dimensions.
didn't
when
give
we
us
drew
this
the
plan.
plan.
That's not a, it's not a problem. What do you mean?
Have you looked at those state requirements to be a licensed campground?
Yes, I had permits, I had all that.
You already have a permit from the state for construction?
Yeah, I do, I have the permit.
We have the requirement,
and I haven't sent it in to him, but I have the permit that she sent to me.
Like an application for a permit?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have not yet received a permit from the state? Okay,
Because it costs money and I have to get through this first.
$1,800.
Right.
Application.
But that, we don't see that as being an issue whatsoever.
And she said.
We meet all the requirements that the state.
I just, I can appreciate that. I just don't think you know what it's like to deal with the state regarding just the licensing, the well.
Years, kind of liquor licenses go out.
Yeah, okay.
Reverse it.
I would hate to see you not be prepared and go into this project not being prepared.
We've done our due diligence with the state.
Okay.
It's a primitive campground. There's tents. I don't know if you've looked into it or not, but it's not,
It's not fun, yeah.
it's not difficult.
I mean, testing your well every year is,
I do it every 3 months on my business right now. For the state of Michigan.
What did you say? It's strictly tents?
I did not say that. I said it's primitive.
No electrical.
No electrical.
Would have
Johns, yeah.
potentially have campers pulling in and out.
Yes, very well could be campers, yes.
Generators running for power?
We would meet all noise requirements for the ordinances of Dalton Township, as I do now.
What were your plans in respect to the neighbors with the fencing issue or question?
I can definitely, we know where the boundary line is. It wouldn't be difficult. I could run, I don't know, I wouldn't want to put cyclone fencing, but I can definitely put a border fence around it so people know where it is. That's not an issue whatsoever.
Question? Is that gonna stop them? Stop people?
I can't answer that. I was just trying to communicate between the two and get the answer for them.
Are you gonna walk over onto the campground?
Me?
Yeah,
No.
okay. And that's works. So I think that kind of goes both ways, right?
You can say that, but when you get people there,
Well, you can say.
All right, we're gonna just try to keep the comments, direct them to the board. if we can,
Okay.
Moving forward.
I
that'll
had
help
my
us.
property surveyed and it's marked.
And that's certainly, this is part of our process to go through the checks and balances. We have to get the list of the things for the actual drawings that we have submitted to us. We have to have certain things on here, and there's some things that we have questions on, so we just need to kind of go through some of those. But there was something else we had in our work session, and
Question about the driveway going, existing.
that was, That was parking would be close to the driveway, if I remember right, or it would be very. There's like, there was where the entrance to the parking is, or the driveway would be, is typically where there's parking now, I think, is what the question.
How wide is your parcel?
Don't recall off the top of my head.
Would you like my copy?
If it has dimensions on it, we only have a dimension of depth. hundred and 70 feet. Thank you.
Width on it's 170.
That's correct.
Kind of, and how far from a property line you have to be with those campsites?
In the section about campgrounds, it says an adequate buffered distance to avoid transmission of noise or other adverse impacts.
I guess question for you, Steve, a little bit. You're saying you don't have, these were just kind of general sizes of the sites. I mean, I know our site plan, we're gonna need the full size of what it's gonna be. How much changing, if this is it, if he has to change all that because of state requirements, he has to come back here, doesn't he? And how much changes, correct? Because we can't just have this on file and it changes completely from what this is, then, no.
Sites will just be bigger.
I know, but we still,
It's, there's gonna be still 12 sites, it's just gonna be, it's gonna meet the minimum requirement of the state.
I know, but if your sites get bigger, then you get less room for your trash and your porta johns and all that stuff. I don't have the state's requirements in front of me, so I don't know.
Square foot, and there's, each one of those, you see they're not touching each other,
Mhm.
so I'll just have them touch each other. I could probably fit 24 of them in at the requirement.
I'm just trying to see what we have to meet requirements.
I could redraw that, and give you a new copy, it's still gonna be 12 sites, it's just gonna be 12 bigger sites.
This doesn't show anything for like lighting. Is there a plan for any lighting?
No, I might put up solar lighting.
I know, Steve, one of the points brought up was the safety factor right there on that corridor with campers pulling in and out of the bar on that curve. Has fire chief weighed in on any of that yet, or?
He said as long as the turnaround, as long as he can access it, it would be fine. We don't have dimensions to verify that. We should also verify with the tight turns on the proposed driveway. We will also need MDOT approval of driveway at that location. And one thing to remember too, you're saying like this is where your current overflow parking's at?
Part of it.
I don't know, like the overhead view. We were just wondering, we didn't understand that just from reading this. If it's your current overflow parking, where's everybody gonna go then? Is all, so. Like, if you're using your primitive, it says you were gonna use this current spot is used for overflow parking.
It has, they're separate each other.
We were just wondering about that, cause that's all it says here, just that's the current parcel, the parcel you're gonna use is overflow
See the
parking.
total site are in the back and the parking's in front. I mean, they won't have contact with each other. And it'll be actually sectioned off, actually. Separate.
So there wouldn't be parking from the driveway off of Holton Road into the campground? There's no parking there? Is that what you're saying that?
Do you have the drawing?
I do.
Sorry, let me talk about it.
So coming off of Holton Road,
This will continue the overflow parking.
okay. And then there would be no parking.
So the accessibility is drive in. I mean, this, at first, I think there's no ditch, there's no, yeah, Homer's thank you. There's none of that. So I mean, I could literally put it whatever fits.
Okay.
But this is still gonna be used for overflow, and it's gonna be separate from this, see, there's a gap in all these for the young lady down at the end, I could just touch these and get the square footage, and plus you can go up to the boundary lines, which I left it, as long as the camping is on. I mean, it's probably not exactly the same.
Yeah, well, some of what we do is this is part of the approval,
Right,
is to
right.
make,
Yeah.
we have to make sure it's accurate and.
Yeah. Well, we know the numbers, so it can give you it's pretty simple.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or?
I just don't feel like this provides enough detail and dimensions. There's also no drainage listed on here, what they're gonna do with their surface water. I feel like it needs more detail. I don't know how we could vote on this.
Yeah, there's a list of things that we usually ask for like on a site plan. They have all of it on here so that we could just check it off to make sure that we've done our due diligence to make sure that we've met all of those criteria. Because we're hitting some of them right now, we're not hitting all of them. And so if we miss any, I guess I feel kind of comfortable approving something without having everything in that. So if there's using that list to get us what the drawing is, like you said, making, if you want to tighten up things, make sure you got the 66-foot requirement that would be for the cul-de-sac so that the emergency vehicles have access, the driveway where it actually fits off of on 120, because that's part of what you're gonna have to get.
Well, I had that, but planning didn't like it, so I said, I put it wherever you guys want it, I can put it. Wherever it fits the ordinance. That's my point on it.
Part of what we do is approve it, but not recommend it. And that's.
You tell me what I can do, and that's what I'll do.
Okay.
Yeah. If I put it in the wrong spot, you're gonna tell me I'm in the wrong spot, right? So I mean, we can.
I don't know if we won't really make the approval of the driveway. That is between you and MDOT.
That shouldn't be a problem.
Who's gonna be the target customer base?
People wanting to visit our area. You know, we got a nice area, lakes, nice beautiful woods, different, that kind of.
Yeah.
Like anybody go out camping for it.
Yeah. And I ask because a lot of times, I see different campgrounds target different audiences, based on other amenities they have, pools or playgrounds or
Shower.
something special that they may have, to stand apart from the other campground.
Right.
So that's what I learned with the.
Well, like you put a campground in the lake, you're going after people fishing and using the lake. I mean, I obviously got a business that's gonna be adjacent to it as well, so it's obviously gonna tie in for that respect as well.
The property right now, currently, you're looking to purchase the property or?
I own the property.
Okay. Just echoing what Casey had said, I think to get the specifics on here, to have everything drawn as you would like to propose it, would help us at least understanding it, so instead of.
Well, yeah, there's obviously new information that.
Yeah.
That, township couldn't tell me, so I got it from the state, but which was not time to get it drawn out for you guys tonight.
Personally don't feel a 20-foot buffer is enough. I mean, 1643B2 says the portions of use involving public assembly or having characteristics which may cause noise or other adverse impact shall be located a sufficient distance away and shall be adequately buffered. And I just personally feel like 20 feet is not an adequate buffer for people who are outside at night. And
Have you ever stayed in a campground?
I own a campground, so yes, and we had to have a
What do you do
50.
to keep it quiet after 10 o'clock?
Pardon me?
What do you do to keep it quiet after 10
We
o'clock?
have security patrolling around.
You have rules,
Yes.
right? And you-
We also have a 50-foot buffer, as was required by the planning commission at the time.
So, do you need, if you're being quiet after 10, what's the buffer necessary for? If it's before 10, before the sound ordinance, then you can just be within the sound ordinance, right? It's a commercial area, commercially zoned. Their sound ordinance is already for that, right? For the daytime, for the nighttime. If you're following the rules, I don't understand your lack of comfort level if you're following the ordinances that are put in place by Dalton Township.
A larger
You're
buffer,
assuming that we're not gonna follow the ordinances at this point.
no, a larger buffer just, it lends goodwill to the neighborhood and makes the neighbors feel better about the project.
Seems like or the ordinances, personal opinion.
It is my personal opinion. There's other members of this board that may have their own.
Ordinances, all right?
It's, yes, and unfortunately, the planning commission gets a lot of leeway when it comes to new developments and what the buffer, the fencing requirements, the buffer requirements. That's kind of what our job is, to decide what we think works best for everybody involved.
Any other questions or?
I think there's probably.
As far as the site plan, you're saying? Does that need to be in the form of a motion then to request more information or?
I think the first thing we need to look at is special use, right? Because we have the special use, the land use, and then we have the site plan. So I think we need to look at them separately, you know?
Let's take a look at the special land use then to determine. SU 43-01.
So for me, I like everything Dave's done with his place there, but 16D3 requires us to assure that the special land use is compatible with adjacent and nearby land uses, and it's not doing it for me. I think it's too small a parcel. I think it's too tight. I think it's too condensed of an area for camping enjoyment, I guess, where I'm at with it.
With respect to what Jesse just said, in the same section, number 4 is to protect natural resources, the health, safety, and welfare of those who utilize the special land use, and also the residents in the vicinity. I don't, now knowing that there's gonna be campers there, it makes me hesitant to know that there's only 2 porta-johns on site. And that's even if the state permits it to be 2 porta-johns. Typically, the state would require a privy, which is a 500-gallon storage tank, to basically an outhouse, like a more professionally built one. They do sometimes make exceptions for porta-johns in lieu of the privy, but it would be circumstances where campers are there, and it's a lot less likely you would get that, they would grant that. I'm not sure, I do have concerns about people dumping their gray water on the ground because they can't make it the whole time that they're staying. We talked at the work session, typically you can only make it 2 to 3 days using the tanks of your RV before you have to get creative. There's no dump station on site. So
We did discuss that a lot.
I am concerned about the environment in that location.
There's hundreds of state campgrounds, primitive campgrounds in the state of Michigan, there's none of them. They're usually a hole in the ground that they dig. And that's what they use. They don't use porta johns. They usually just goes in the ground.
I'm not sure the state would approve that now. Are
They're
you talking?
state-run campgrounds. They're state campgrounds.
If you own a campground, you know the state, do as I say, not as I do. That's their motto. The requirements for private campgrounds are different than the state.
Ones up in the woods. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, there's hundreds of them.
Yeah, there is.
And they have things called, what are they, Lovejoy, you own a campground, right? The little carts that they all around and.
Yeah, honey wagon.
Honey wagon, there you go. You use them at your campground?
Our sites are full hookup.
But they have technology for that, in case they do overflow their tanks.
Does this, M120 and Whitehall Access Management Overlay District Regulations thing come into play at all with something like this? And it specifies in the
Okay, look at that.
4.46. It specifies following the guidelines and principles of the M120 corridor study prepared under the direction of the West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Commission. That's something that's got to take place before.
It looks like it is in the overlay district.
The overlay,
Okay.
you can require a study. Typically, shared drives are encouraged in the overlay. In this case, it doesn't appear to be feasible due to the setback of the existing vacant building.
Look at it.
Section D of 4.46. 1A talks about access points, and it says one additional access point may be allowed for land with continuous frontage of over 455 feet. This parcel is only 170 feet wide. So to me, that means we should be more encouraging a shared driveway, which Steve just said is not really feasible because of that building.
What's a feasible amount of footage?
It says 455.
That's the width between the building and the road. You're saying it's not feasible to have somebody drive through. What is feasible? What footage is feasible?
Is it because they're too close to the road right of way?
What's too close?
The road right of way extends 50 feet from the center line of,
I understand that, but that doesn't mean you can't drive a car through that.
but you can't have your approved driveway in the road right of way, and it has to be
Every
at least
business,
50
every
wide.
business along Holt Road has their driveway within 50 feet. And I don't understand your question. We're all within that 55. Every driveway's within that 55 feet.
You can't be perpendicular, or you can't be parallel through the road right of way. You have to come in from the right of way, but
Cross
you can't,
it, but
you have
not
to, you can
parallel,
cross
yeah,
the
that
right of
makes
way,
what
but you
Steve
can't be
said.
in it. So if your driveway has to come in and curve, then between that building and the road, there's no dimensions on here.
Like a straight drive through.
The driveway's gonna be straight right in.
If you're saying, which I'm not sure that's even right yet, but you're saying you can't put a drive in because it's only 170 feet wide is what you're saying?
No, it's saying that for parcels that are under a 455 feet, that in the overlay district, the planning commission should be having you share your driveway with another parcel. Instead of,
Parcel on 120, that's under 440 feet, has to share a driveway.
no, you don't have to, it's part of
So I don't have to.
encouraging safety.
But I don't have to.
Well, if we tell you you do, then you do, so that's what we're talking about now, whether we should.
The concern, I guess, when we were in our work session is that area for the amount of traffic and accidents and things that occurred.
There would be less people going in to the storage unit just across the street, on the inside corner. Which is way more dangerous.
I know that, let me finish. What I'm saying is we were looking at the amount of traffic that goes through there and the fact that there have been accidents already. Now we add in potentially vehicles trying to turn and what have you into your driveway plays a key part of what we would have concerns with. That's why I guess that we're trying to do, again, the due
I would
diligence.
suspect that any business that someone puts up there is gonna have a driveway put in, right? Any sort of business whatsoever that goes in on that property.
Depending on the business, and this is between the property owner and MDOT, but it's possible certain businesses would cause MDOT to require you to put fly around lanes, passing lanes on the outside there.
A 12-site campground fall under those.
Because I don't know. I have no idea. None of us know anything that MDOT would require.
I guess the concerns that have been voiced are the fact that it seems to be a smaller lot than would be desired, I guess, for something a campground. It's more of a postage stamp fits onto that, and then the access point for the driveway. Yes, there are, could be conceivable ways to do that, but with a proper drawing, at least something to show that, rather than we're kind of moving the driveway as we need to.
I fulfilled what the planning commission asked me to do on that.
No, there's like 3 pages worth of stuff that you're supposed to do and submit when you submit a site plan. And it's not complete according to the zoning ordinance. Lots of,
3 pages, and there's actually, with your site plan, there's 3 pages of documents that you have to review in order to have the proper information included in there, just to make sure you.
Well, that was Steve.
What's that?
Yeah,
Covered that with all the, when we talked, told us
When
what.
we talked with planning, he said we satisfied everything we need to have this meeting.
In the drawing.
Otherwise, I don't think we'd schedule the meetings, if that's my understanding. Is that, do I understand it right?
This seems like there's too many uncertainties to approve this point until we get answers on a lot of the questions, but whose responsibility is it to answer all those questions?
the applicant.
Are we supposed to?
No, it's the applicant. They have to do all 30 of these things in this book. I don't know if this, I mean, there are several concerns, but without having any proper measurements and things, I think we're wasting our time talking about it. 'Cause if the driveway can't fit where it needs to go because it's in the road right of way, we would be able to know that if everything was measured out exactly and the whole parcel was properly measured, then we would be able to tell a lot more.
We can provide that for you tonight, so you could have the things that you need to have on the checklist. Just go through and make sure those are included on there. And it would make it easier for us, again, to address it, rather than talk about, well,
Again, I thought I satisfied it all, because $850 to the planning commission, everything's, I got everything I need, yes, you're set to go. All right, so I just need to show up tonight, right? Yes, all right. I mean, if there was, I would have, anything asked for.
There are some situations where presenting us a site plan on graph paper will work, but you're working at a very tight site, which means we need much more information than a graph paper would provide. If it was a huge parcel and you wanted to put a pole barn up,
For the requirements. It's, do you know the requirements of the site? Of each campground site? It's 1,200 square foot. You want a 66-foot
No.
turnaround.
I'm talking about the whole site plan together, everything all
And
together.
again, that did pass when I handed it in.
No, so it's not his job to tell you whether you are ready to go in front of the planning commission. It's his job to tell you, here's what you need, here's the things to fill out. But then when you come in front of the planning commission, that's when if you didn't look in the ordinance yourself, that's when we will let you know what you haven't met.
so I think what we're gonna recommend, it sounds like, I mean, I guess we have to start with the 2 separate things here, but first we're looking at the special land use. If we meet the criteria for that, then we would need to go into the next actual site plan. So do we first find that the special land use fits, and I guess that's
Yeah, because there's no point in talking about
right.
a bigger, better site plan if it doesn't even meet the special use.
So let's take this. Anyone that would like to make a motion? Hey, John.
Good thoughts.
I agree with everything that's been said. Any more information?
for everything to be submitted with corrections.
I guess one question too, MDOT, Steve. I mean, you have to pay, you have to pay for that, correct? MDOT approval of a driveway, or is it just to get an approval? I don't know that. They would charge a fee for a driveway permit.
For the permit,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
they
they
won't charge,
give
they
you-
won't charge you to apply.
Right, they
You just
give
turn
you
in your
some
permit, they just, they approve or deny it. If they do approve it, then they'll charge you a fee for inspection.
Just for you too, and for us, I mean, would it be beneficial to have some kind of approval of an MDOT driveway even? I know we're still just talking about the special land use.
Personally, for a site plan, I would before I.
It would be nice
anything
to
else
know that
because
you
it's-
can even have the
it's very
driveway
cheap,
before we
yes.
even say yes.
It already has a driveway on it.
I'm just saying for that specific site, but, and we're getting veering off again from going back to the site plan, but that's just one question I had before that, so.
I guess we go back to that. Does it fit the special land use requirements? Concerns that we had? And if so, need to entertain a motion.
I don't believe we can approve it without having an approvable site plan.
Kind of the way it reads.
Can, we
That's true,
can, so
yes,
we
yeah.
can deny the special use. But if we can't, or we can't approve both.
Well, we would wanna table it, I guess, because, yeah, I see what you're saying. We need an
Because we
approved
don't
site
know if
plan
it-
to approve a special use, so what we should do is table the special
Right.
use. So we wouldn't have to reapply for the special use, pay
Right.
the fee and deny the site plan.
Because as it stands right now, it does not meet, there's not an adequate and convenient water supply and sanitary sewage disposal on this site plan. So right now, it does not meet so if we'd like to table it so that they can try to meet that.
Can I ask what that is? Can you tell me what that is? The state of Michigan says it meets it. Or state, right?
We don't need a sewage dump if we don't,
Can you tell me what that is then? As far as I'm concerned, I've done that.
As far as I'm concerned, two porta johns at a 12-site campground is not sufficient. So I don't,
I have 2 bathrooms in my restaurant.
but these people are living with you. I mean, they're living with you now. They're there 24 hours a day, all day long, doing whatever they're doing. And I don't think there's adequate water having a hand pump. Like,
It's
How
a
would
rustic camp, it's a primitive campground. Primitive.
right, the state
Definition-
requires water too.
You're right, a hand pump, the state requires it, that's the minimum.
from the state, it says your campground can be as primitive as a hand pump well in previous. If you would like to construct a service building, okay, so all he says is we
They
can.
literally said you could dig a hole for an outhouse in the
Okay.
ground. And we just have to do a soil test. I'm choosing to try to put porta johns in and not put the waste into the ground.
The state is not the only requirement. The state is in addition to what the
That's I'm
township.
asking. How can I meet your requirements if you can't tell me what your requirements are? I've met the state requirements because they told me what their requirements
Who
are.
is that from?
The state, Eagle.
Right, what name is that?
Her name's Sarah Rotaries.
Okay,
For the information, I've met that. I mean, you're telling me I am not meeting it, but you can't tell me what the goal is.
Well, I think what we're looking at here is, at this point, tabling the special land use. So we get a site plan that actually meets the 30, we will do all those steps, but we can't approve the first one without having the second one.
A new site plan.
And just, use the 30 checklist thing. So
When we went over the 30 checklist with Steve, 20 of them didn't apply to us.
we just,
that's sometimes true, but
Definitely true.
number 17 is not on here. You need to indicate where your runoff is gonna go. Has to be-
From what? Runoff.
From your surface water,
In a rain event.
because you're putting a road down, you're putting,
What was that?
In a rain event or anything, like that, any surface water is what Casey's referring to, just any surface water.
Does,
Where's the surface water gonna go? Is
doesn't it go into the, when it rains, there's no puddle, it's like right now, it's,
Can't leave your property and go on to an adjacent property.
what's
It needs
it
to-
right now though?
But that's what we'd have to have you. at least
But you're altering the land on, that's
No,
why.
not,
You're not putting a driveway in?
not a raised driveway, yeah, put a driveway in, but it's not changing the elevation, the angles, the tilt.
In the zoning requirement, it also requires that you have a topo of the site, so we can see whether your driveway will affect surface water runoff. So do you have a topographical map of this site to know where your high spots and your low spots are?
Yeah, I do on my phone.
Okay, it'd be helpful if you submitted that also with your revised site plan.
I get your point. I think what he's saying is, right now it goes into the ground. Is it change the requirement because we're putting the primitive campground in?
Because if the road is in the low spot and now there's a road and they raise it up, then yes, it's gonna change where the surface water goes.
Raise it. I'll keep it all natural.
It just has to be on a plan. What you say in a meeting is not, it has to be on a plan.
Keep all elevations.
I did in our
Yeah.
note that I wrote in, it said flat terrain.
Right, yeah, if you read that in there, it is on that.
I mean,
Also, you should provide, on one side of you, I think is your current establishment. You should also let us know what's on the other side of your establishment. Whether it's a residential or vacant parcel.
It's all commercial, it's out here.
Is it vacant right now or is there a business there?
Where? Where at?
On the other side of you, on the
Other
opposite,
side of the F and bar or the?
it'd be the south, I guess, correct?
the south side of the proposed site.
There is a house there.
So that's your house? Okay. Your house. That's your
Yeah,
house.
it's just
Okay.
this lady's house right there.
So I think it would be to your advantage to read the site plan part section. I'm sure Stephen can provide you a copy. It does talk about screening when a commercial use abuts a residential use. So you can see what's required by the ordinance there.
When we went through that checklist with Steve, he highlighted everything that was on those 30 things, and I tried my best to include all those, answer the questions in the note that we.
So this is a different section. This is talking about what we're looking for, not necessarily what you're applying for, but what you can put on your site plan to give us the most information to.
one thing I would possibly suggest that's not a requirement of our site plan review or documentation, but I know Dave, there has been a lot of questions about, the state's requirements and what they require for size and this and that, I mean, if there's not that many requirements for the state primitive campground, I would suggest including those, because I think they would
Yeah.
answer a lot of questions as far as
And
what they require for size and this and that, and if it's minimal,
it was hard.
it could be helpful for the board members.
Can add that. It took a little bit of a process and we didn't get it done before here, nor was it asked for, but we were doing our own investigation through the state side, what we have, and we came up with this new information that to meet the state requirements, and I thought we fulfilled all the.
The biggest
township
change we had from the
requirements.
state was that we found out the sites needed to be bigger.
Right, which is. There's plenty of area, there's plenty of area for it.
You also can't put your restrooms where they are. Those-
50 feet from each
Right,
of the
I believe right now they're showing like 25 feet from the.
That was a new.
Yeah, they get-
bound too.
Right,
I think it'll help us
it would meet code.
if we take it and put all the things that we've talked about and the things that are, and if you take that in, I guess, into consideration and include that on your drawings. It will help us topographical in addition to, we just need to, again, show that water remains on your property. It isn't going to create anything. Not saying you are, it's just giving us the thing that shows it. It gives us the ability to say that.
Yeah.
So someone like to make a motion?
But I'll make a motion to table SPR 23-01. For more information and sometimes.
Support. Support by John. Okay, Dave, yes. Jesse?
Yes.
Todd? To Lee?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
And Kevin?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Move on to communications. We do this again. Have the, we didn't cover it in the work session. Steve, was the letter from the Village of Lakewood, is there anything we need to do with that they're requesting our?
No, I've been provided this information to them. Just
Okay.
FYI.
Nothing there. We'll move on to unfinished business. Nothing there. And we will go to the new business. We'll go to SPR 23-02, 6044 Main Street. Shunting of rental equipment at John's Market. And do we have anyone here from John's Market? And we do not. So,
We're probably gonna have to table it. That's my opinion right off the bat, because we had so many questions for him.
right. Yeah. Do you want us to state, Steve, do you want us to state some of the concerns, or do we have enough in the work session or things that we could ask for?
State those concerns.
Okay, so one was whether they could move the vehicle shunting to the M120 side, which it does appear that could be the buffering,
Upside.
the buffering along to where, if it were to stay where it is, there'd be buffering.
I think there's room for them to all go to the south side. I drove out there before I came here. I think there's room for them all to go to the south side.
Yeah.
And, just looking at the parcel, I would be very happy if I lived there either.
Yeah, I don't think you can,
And on top of that, for one, he's not here, which really ticks me off that I drove to his place and he can't drive to our meeting. For two, what you're proposing on our site plan, he's showing having 3 trucks parked along that property line towards the eastern end of that property line. And what's existing there right now is a string of trucks right on down the property line. So you aren't even attempting to show us what you could do, which makes me just say, no, take a hike.
Right.
Get them out of there. Because if you're telling us you're gonna do this,
And you're not doing it,
can't you at least do it and show us?
it would look a lot better, wouldn't it?
Exactly. So I don't think there's any attempt on the applicant's part to even make an attempt to satisfy the neighbor or even work with them.
it's a little ambiguous.
Are you saying they were all right here?
Yes, on a straight line.
All on.
Were there seven there?
There was none
Closest to the
against
neighbors,
the,
it's
there was 5.
Five there, but they were all right
And,
there.
they started right in line in front of us,
Okay.
that way. He didn't even have these 2 pushed out. Well, he doesn't know, they were right here.
Doesn't have title.
So it just,
It's not,
That's not.
that's not an issue, yeah.
it's just a point of order. If we could just keep conversation down a little bit, just we're trying to. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So, I mean, at this point, I think, is that enough? I don't think there's anything beyond that. That I think just put it pretty well. If the intent is gonna be to deceive right from the get-go.
That's the way I.
We're gonna ask him, I think we'll table and have next meeting, see if he does come back for that. Anyone like to make a motion for that?
I make a motion to table SPR 23-02 at 6044 Main Street, John's Market.
Support.
Yeah.
Support, okay?
To the February meeting.
Yes, if that works for the owner, I'd like to request that a representative come to the meeting.
All right, we will take a, have a motion and support. Dave, yes. Jesse?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
And Jeff.
Yes.
All right. Last thing under new business is the draft ordinance 2023-05 for ponds, sand, gravel mining, and site plan review.
Did anything new for this?
There's nothing new,
Okay.
nothing added. I do have a, an opinion from the attorney regarding trees and site plan review.
Okay.
He doesn't believe that the ordinance requires site plan review for removal of trees unless they've been required on a previous site plan for preservation.
That makes sense.
He did say it's still a little confusing and could be better worded, but
Put it on the list.
yeah, and I think if what we've already done might fix that for now. Chapter 17 could definitely use more work.
It's part of our ongoing mission.
So, is this something we should table too until you have a new draft for us, or does it not need to be tabled? Are we just talking about it?
Yeah, we're just talking about it
Oh,
until it's moved to public hearing. for
I think
adoption.
we talked ad nauseum about it in the work session.
We went through a lot of stuff.
We beat the dead horse really well.
Yeah, and I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay.
So you're aware of.
So you're working on a few changes.
He's gone, like, oh, we didn't talk about that.
Oh.
You're working on a few changes for this though, right? Okay.
Yeah, I just went through it pretty well at the work session there, to where we're all pretty much on the same page, just a few things that we should look at ecologically, I guess.
All right, well, with that being
Work in
said,
progress.
we got it moving in the right direction. All right, that brings us to, I believe, the last thing on here is for adjournment. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Close the meeting at 7:19. 7:24. Man, that's twice I did that tonight. That's all right.
I thought it was gonna be a little longer than that.
Yeah, I know.